Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Probably be kind of a quick night tonight. I'm just I'm tired for one and just frustrated. Um I'm sitting back and I'm 50 years old. And for much of my life it feels like I get to sit there with my hands tied behind my back while I guess others decide my fate for me. And again, this has been all my life. And I'm just reaching that tipping point. I am tired of paying the consequences for things I didn't do. I mean, it's nothing new. I've been in this boat for well over a decade. Actually rearranged my life in ways that I could say that I actually take that stance and that I can put truth to those words. I'm watching the situation unfold over in Ukraine. I'm watching the games go on with this pipeline. And that's just another instance. How? Because every last one of us is going to pay dearly for the nonsense that's going on. You already are. Whether it's at the supermarket, the gas station, whether it's your taxes that your great 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 grandchildren are still going to be paying off. Life, and I've said this many times, can be so simple. Fuck. I just want simple. I just want simple. I'll tell you what, I think this situation is going to devolve very quickly. And I was holding off concern about nuclear conflict until this point. And I think about that, and I think about it's everywhere, man. It is everywhere. 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 And maybe I'm just burned out. I know I'm not, to a level. I just wish that the American people could once again quietly make a life for themselves, not be bothered, for American society to stop their nonsense drama bullshit. I'm just tired of paying the consequences. I'm trying to make for myself an easy life. And it's easy to do. You just gotta let it be. I'll tell you what. Like I said, this is the first time that I have these fears of nuclear conflict. And not that it's just going to be an all out. No, I'm not even saying that. Not even referring to that. Because I really don't think it'll come to that. I don't think. And I could be wrong. And my sincere apologies if I am wrong. But I don't think it's going to come to a nuclear Armageddon. I do think that at some point multiple nuclear weapons will be used. But I think that they will all be rather small in scale, and they'll be of the tactical variety. That's still not good, and the reason why that's not good is because, well, that's begging for more consequences. I paid attention, kind of close attention to some of the headlines when they came in. Some of the stuff was surprising, some of the stuff not. I really do think that we are on a path for major conflict, and I think that there's a good chance we might be in it by winter. I really hope people are heeding the warnings and just do what you can. If you're new to this, keep at it. Don't give up. Keep at it. Keep at it. Keep praying. I have seen the Father do amazing things for me. I have seen it myself, but it takes you putting in what you have. You have to put in. That's the way it works. Faith without works is dead. You want benefits, you have to work with Him. And I've seen amazing things happen. But I urge anyone and everyone within the sound of my voice, please start putting back what you can when you can. And make sure you're trying to get a line on something for heat if you need it. If you live somewhere that you need it, try to get on that. If you're an apartment dweller, I still have to get, and I need to get on that quick. I actually didn't get any beta testing done today. I really need to get beta testing done tomorrow, so hopefully I can manage to get that done. And I need to get that thing for the window done for the heater. And I need to get videos of that and get that put up and put out. And, of course, get it all tested and all that good stuff. Because, again, for the apartment dwellers, I know, I get it, there's not a lot of options there. These diesel parking heaters, to me, seem to be about the best opportunity, to be real honest, for many people. Because you're going to have something that produces a fair amount of heat. And no matter what, that's going to take some type of energy. I'm sure that we don't want to be trying to tap into any natural gas lines about now. We sure the hell don't want it, we may not have that opportunity, nor would we, likely have the opportunity to plug something in the wall. So make sure you work on the, and by the way, I want to throw in something, pardon me, completely out of left field, but it's been a trend here lately that I've seen in some of the solar generator groups. And that is, and a lot of it's spawned on because of Hurricane Ian. But people are, the ridiculous things that they're wanting to use their solar generators for. What am I calling ridiculous? Things like a coffee pot. That's ridiculous. Why do I say that? Because you should have a different method. I mean, the amount of energy that it takes to run that coffee pot is insane. It's mind-blowing. And the amount of effort you have to put to replenish that, and when I say effort, yeah, you set out solar panels, whatever. It's not, But what I'm saying is you're going to really take a dent. And if it's a decent-sized unit, even the Delta 1300 we have, if I was to make a pot of coffee in that thing, or with that thing, that's going to take a chunk out of that battery. That's going to take a chunk. And then if I leave it on to keep the coffee warm until I'm finished, well, that's going to take even more. I'll bet you that I probably, and you could do the math and figure it out. I'm really not that worried about it because not interested in doing it. But you could do the math, and figure out how long it would last with your particular coffee pot. But considering a lot of them are between 900 and 1500 watts, that's a pretty hefty draw. And again, is it worth it for that? Well, coffee, okay, yeah, you kind of got me bent over on that one. But, that's why you should prepare alternative methods. Well, like Hexafoo says, cold brewing or cowboy coffee, or just simply have a percolator and a little Coleman stove or something like that. But, yeah, those solar generators, can they do it? Yeah, they can do it. Is it good on them to do it? Well, I think the less stress you add to anything, the better. So that speaks for what it's, worth. But, yeah, the device should be able to handle doing that countless times just fine. I just don't like taxing my equipment like that. If I don't have to, I don't like doing it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind checking out a French press. I've heard about them and heard a lot of good about them. I don't know if I'd like it or not, but I don't like cold coffee, so I don't know if that's something that you do it and then you heat it up after you do it, or if you're not supposed to heat it at all, or ick, because I ain't doing that. Let's see. I like my coffee hot. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and hop onto the tabs I have open. I've got, what do I got? 5 open. Like I said, it's probably going to be a pretty quick show tonight. I'm just beat tired. I'm just worn out. I'm exhausted. I just be glad when the week's over and anyway, oops. Yeah, you guys might want to go along, I guess. Maybe. There we go. So I went for a flight in the simulator earlier today in an F-22. And, there's only one place to fly today, and that would be off the coast of Florida. And that was interesting. My first time up did okay, it was hairy, don't get me wrong. And I got it landed, and yeah, I did slide off the end of the runway, and I almost skidded off into water. I was a hair away from going into the water, but I saved it. And anyway, I wasn't recording it, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to record doing that, and coming in and doing the landing, all that good stuff. People would probably get a kick out of that. I tried twice, and neither time could I land. It is hard to land a plane in a hurricane, if you didn't know. Especially a light fighter jet. It's even harder to land. Wind's trying to blow you back up over the airport, and you're just trying to get down. Anyway, Russia tells EU to treat U.S. as pipeline sabotage suspect. Yeah, I would concur. I mean, really, again, I ran scenario through my head a zillion times, and the United States is really the only ones that benefits from this. And I'm sure there's others, on a smaller level that will be providing energy that will benefit, but United States is a big one. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova has asked who the EU intends to punish with the strongest possible response for damage to the Nord Stream gas pipeline. The diplomat said Poland's former foreign minister has already identified the U.S. as a party behind the apparent sabotage. Radoslaw Sikorski is well connected to Washington elites through his employment at various think tanks. The two Nord Stream pipelines were seriously... Oh, that's just going to go into the history. I hate when that does that. Well, anyway, you get the gist of that. You already know that. The U.S. responds to alleged Russian nuclear weapons risk, says Politico. The U.S. and its allies have increased intelligence gathering and surveillance over concerns that Russia could use nuclear weapons in Ukraine, an American official has told Politico. The West is worried that signs of Moscow deciding to unleash the unthinkable might come too late, according to the news outlet's sources cited in an article on Tuesday. The ramping up of spying activities occurred after an address by Vladimir Putin a week ago in which he slammed some senior officials in NATO states for suggesting that using nuclear weapons against Russia was justified. He made it clear that such a move won't be left unanswered, noting that Russia has its own arsenal of destructive weapons, some of which surpass their Western counterparts. If the territorial integrity of our nation is threatened, we will certainly use all the means that we have to defend Russia and our people. It's not a bluff, the president said. However, Putin's words were interpreted by politicians and media in the U.S. and EU as a veiled threat that Russia could deploy nuclear weapons during the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. We're watching it more closely, a U.S. government official with access to intelligence on Moscow nuclear forces and strategy told Politico. So, when it comes down to it, do I think that there's an opportunity? Do I think that there's a fair likelihood that Russia might use a tactical nuke? I'm getting there. I'm thinking it's getting pretty close. Let's see what happens. Let's see if Ukraine knocks them back a little bit again, because I guess they did knock them back a little bit, but I don't think that lasted long. But let's see what happens. I think as long as Putin can retain the areas, as long as there's not a major escalation coming from the Ukrainian side. And when I say major escalation, I mean a major escalation. Then maybe not. But if Ukraine either gets a good hit in, or anything in that, starts actually being able to push them back, something of that sort, absolutely. I think at this point Putin would. See, here's the thing. He's got an argument. Not necessarily an argument to use nuclear. That's some pretty strong words. But the United States and many other countries are just funneling weapons and money into Ukraine and just funneling and funneling and funneling. At what point do you say, hey, wait a minute, I'm not fighting Ukraine, I'm fighting Ukraine and NATO. And if I'm going to fight Ukraine and NATO, I'm going to make sure NATO feels it too. So that might be something folks might want to think about. I think there's going to be a whole lot of actions coming up that there's going to be a whole lot of consequences for. And I don't think it's going to go well. U.S. urges its citizens to leave Russia. If you are a United States citizen and you're over in Russia and you haven't figured this out already, stay there. I mean, help out our gene pool a little bit. U.S. citizens in Russia are urged to leave the country as soon as possible to avoid being drafted into the Russian armed forces, the U.S. Embassy in Moscow stated on Tuesday in a security alert. Let's see. Citing the ongoing partial mobilization introduced by the Russian government last week, the embassy warned that Russian authorities may refuse to acknowledge persons with dual Russian U.S. citizenship and may deny them access to the U.S. consular assistance. It also warns that dual citizens could be prevented from leaving the country and may be conscripted for military service. Wouldn't that suck if you were, a U.S. citizen and somehow got forced to go fight for Russia? Wouldn't that suck? The message, I've got a quick clue or quick cure for that. Don't be there. Let's see. The message recommends that U.S. nationals make independent arrangements for leaving the country as soon as possible, noting that the ability to do so is becoming increasingly difficult as border checkpoints are overcrowded and flights out of Russia are extremely limited at the moment. The embassy also warns that severe limitations have impacted its ability to assist U.S. citizens and that conditions in Russia, including transportation options, may suddenly become even more limited. U.S. citizens should not travel to Russia, and those residing or traveling in Russia should depart Russia immediately while limited commercial travel options remain, the security alert reads. The U.S. Embassy's warning comes after Russian President, the mobilization, the draft, and all that good stuff. So it goes into all the stuff we already know. Plain and simple. What did we hear? 300,000 troops he's mobilizing? Yeah, right. From what I'm gathering, it's a whole hell of a lot more than that. A lot more than that. I hope folks are ready for consequences, because they're coming. Russia issues emergency call to UN Security Council. Moscow wishes to call an emergency UN Security Council session over the provocations at the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Wednesday in a Telegram post. Both pipelines were severely damaged. You already know about that. Danish authorities confirmed gas leaks from the pipelines not far from the island of Bornholm in the Baltic Sea on Monday after the operator reported a loss of pressure in both Nord Stream 1 and 2. Swedish and Danish authorities later confirmed a series of undersea explosions had been detected before the leaks were confirmed. Russian, American, and Swedish officials all said that the damage might have been the result of a targeted attack on pipeline infrastructure. No suspects behind the incident have officially been named, Although in a tweet, former Polish minister Radoslaw Sikorski thanked Washington for destroying the pipeline, Moscow, which called the incident a terrorist attack, also named the U.S. as a potential suspect. And again, this whole ordeal with the UN, the sad part about that is everybody knows who calls the shots with the UN and NATO, so it's pointless. It's really pointless. You still have to go through the motions, but you know how frustrating that is? You know how frustrating it is to do the right things, to go through and do the right things and still get treated as if... I mean, it's insane. And all this that's happening right now, it's not just about Ukraine, man. All this that's happening right now is a culmination of decades. We have did nothing but militarize this planet. And then, in any way and every way we possibly could, we took control of entire regions. Some places we didn't even have any damn reason to be there. Many places today we still remain that we have no damn business being. That's what bothers me when it comes to the government nation situation. The United States has got a black eye coming. I mean, it's got a couple black eyes coming. And what are we the people, supposed to do with that? I mean, I guess all we can do is hope that other nations just realize that we're citizens. I hope other nations realize that we're just as fed up and frustrated with this government as what they are. This is insane. Over the past year or two, the question that just keeps coming up in my head, and it drives me up a wall that it even comes up. Who's going to help us save our freedom? Who's going to be airdropping rations and helping us get by? Helping us protect and sustain ourselves from our own oppressive government. Who's going to be the country to do that for us? I wouldn't be holding your breath. I don't think nobody's coming. NATO member wants devastating retaliation against Russia. Now, this is if Russia uses some type of nuclear weapon. But they're already building this case. And that kind of concerns me. Because there could be a little bit of rat-a-tat-tat going on. What do I mean by that? Well, okay, the pipelines were hit. That was a blow against Russia. Well, then what all of a sudden, if there's a tactical nuclear weapon set off in a major city, let's say it's the capital city. Let's say they take out the capital. Tactical nuclear weapon, capital of Ukraine, good night. Do you know? Can you prove whether that was a Russian nuke or a UK nuke or an American nuke? Or, because I know I can't. I've got no clue on how to differentiate. I know that it can be done. I know that if the proper investigation's done, as long as they can get a hold of the fragments of that pipeline, they've got a damn good chance of finding out just exactly what it was that happened. They've got a chance of picking up traces of different compounds and stuff to know what type of explosives were used. They can tell by the damage what type of, item they were dealing with, a shape charge or what have you. That's one of the things that I'm waiting to happen, is those results to come back, because I do think that the chickens are going to come home to roost on this. I really do. And I really do think that the United States is going to have their hand caught in the cookie jar. We're way too careless. Anyway. Oh, I hear you there about the manpower and stuff. Yeah, that's one thing we got plenty of. That's for sure, equipment. I know I still don't have my F-15 though. And I mean, it'd be nice if I could get a couple of Blackhawks. I mean, I'm not asking for too much. Oh, man. I am tired. How about I run through these and get to bed? I'm ready for that. Oh, man. Ukraine Zaporozhye votes to unite with Russia. So that's another region that I know of 3 so far, I believe, that voted to be with Russia. Ukraine can use Western weapons against territories seized by Russia, says the U.S. Ex-Polish FM thanks U.S. for destruction of Russian gas pipeline. Gotta love that, huh? Zelensky condemns referendums on joining Russia in Ukraine's breakaway. CIA warned Germany of pipeline attacks, says Spiegel. Yeah, the CIA and the FBI, it's amazing the stuff they know ahead of time, and they just... Oops. NATO pushes for military industry bonanza. That sounds like fun. EU politicians criticize Ukrainian welfare tourism. Western arms manufacturer reveals plans for India. Israeli military drone maker hacked. Moscow warns U.S. against using Zelensky regime as proxy. A fresh recession warning issued for Germany. Pakistan eyes ruble trade with Russia, says TASS. U.S. preparing more weapons for Ukraine, says Reuters. Let's see. Nord Stream leaks not a coincidence, says Burrell. Turkish state banks exit Russian payment system, says Bloomberg. U.S. to deepen unofficial ties with Taiwan, says Harris. South Korean spy agency makes nuclear test prediction, says MP. Israel explains deployment of remote-controlled turret. EU may soften anti-Russia sanctions, says Politico. A top Russian senator comments on consequences for those who left during mobilization. IMF blasts UK over taxes. Putin's words must be taken seriously, says Merkel. Donbass Republic and Kherson region appeal to Moscow. U.S. urges... Oh, covered that one. Soaring interest rates take toll on UK property market, says Bloomberg. Experts issue warning over arms for Ukraine. Billionaire investor lambasts UK government. Apple explains removal of Russia's largest social network app. A major airline allows male staff to wear skirts. Nord Stream damage might be irreparable, says media. Kremlin says Nord Stream explosions a big problem for Russia. EU proposes new biting sanctions against Russia. China reacts to Ukraine-Taiwan comparison. Biden calls for dead Congresswoman. That was insane. EU country imposes border checks. Brussels imposes anti-Russia sanctions on EU members, says Orban. Second energy protest rolls EU... Royals EU country, I guess. A prominent Franco-Palestinian lawyer goes on hunger strike. Denmark comments on future of Nord Stream. German spies helping Ukraine, says media. EU to ban Russian toilet paper. And don't forget, they're dealing with shortages of toilet paper over there. A U.S. dictates to African nation over Russian military base plan. And that is what I've got. I can't really think anything else. I'm gonna just wiggle out and try to get some rest. So one more day to go. Even in the mornings when I look at the amount of headlines again, it's ramping up. So just keep an eye on, be aware of that. The frequency of the serious news, that is really starting to ramp up again. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all coming. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow night. I hope to see you all then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.